Probably not public information yet, but who's the person that's number one on that invitation list?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, if she's over 30, you don't even have to worry about Leo.
Joe Rogan has seen his fair share of scandals, but even he seemed taken aback when the tangled web between Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Diddy Combs started to unravel. For years, both men have been seen as untouchable giants in their respective industries. One, a world-renowned actor, the other, a powerful music mogul. But as new stories come to light, Rogan has begun to ask the questions everyone else has ignored for far too long. Why have Leonardo and Diddy's paths crossed so many times? And what were they really doing behind closed doors?
Leonardo DiCaprio is voting for Kamala Harris. Has nothing to do with the Diddy parties.
when you guys are talking,
nothing to do with the Diddy parties. He's endorsed Kamala Harris because of climate
what do you
change.
think
Then
about
did
that?
you see him? He's on a yacht and then on a private jet.
Yeah,
Literally
so
like
smart.
last week.
Yeah.
Do you know Diddy won a lawsuit against that alcohol company? The alcohol company?
Ciroc?
Ciroc,
Yes.
he won like $1 billion deal. And once that happened, then this all came out.
What makes this even more disturbing is how early it all began. Leonardo wasn't even out of his teens when he started appearing at high-profile parties hosted by Diddy. These weren't just industry mixers or movie rap celebrations. These were tightly controlled events with an elite guest list. Leonardo wasn't yet a fully formed star, but somehow he kept getting invited. Joe Rogan, never one to shy away from controversy, pointed this out and demanded that people take a second look at what was really going on. The more Rogan talked about it, the more undeniable it became. This wasn't just about two famous people occasionally showing up at the same events. It was about repeated proximity. Leonardo DiCaprio and Diddy were seen together at numerous private gatherings, charity galas, and after-hours functions, long before Leonardo had earned that kind of status. It raised a very serious question. What did Diddy want from this connection? And what did Leonardo gain from staying so close?
P. Diddy party. This is what happens to the white man.
It's so unfortunate.
You gotta pull back though, so they can see. That's crazy. Matt, move out the way. You're still alive. Look at that. Look. What you?
Look at the drink on his head.
And that's James from Simeon Mobile Disco. He is a actual DJ's not supposed to pass out, but when they come to one of my parties, this is what happens to him.
Joe Rogan pointed out something else. Leonardo's public image has always been carefully managed. He's seen as private, polished, and non-confrontational. But Rogan believes that behind that image is a man who's been part of a much darker scene than people realize. From his early days in Hollywood, Leonardo was surrounded by influential adults, many of whom are now being exposed for inappropriate behavior, legal troubles, and disturbing power plays. And throughout it all, Leonardo stayed silent. It's that silence that really struck a nerve with Rogan. In the podcast, he replayed old footage of Leonardo at interviews in the late 90s and early 2000s. In those clips, Leonardo was often asked about his mentors and who helped guide him through Hollywood. His answers were vague, often dodging the real question. Looking back now, Rogan suggested that Leonardo may have been hiding something, not necessarily something he did, but something he witnessed and chose not to reveal.
It's Leo. You're like, damn it.
God damn it.
Leo struck again.
Well, if she's over 30, you don't even have to worry about Leo.
Not over like 23. Yeah, 30. 30
That's
is
like
like
what I
over
saw.
the hill.
Remember the photos of Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend,
Would she
Leonardo
like the
DiCaprio? Yeah, she was like smiling at him, and then Jeff Bezos like was joking around about pushing him off a cliff. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, you don't have to worry about her, bro. She's 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could see her doing like the cost benefit analysis.
As for Diddy, his recent legal problems are exposing cracks in the empire he spent decades building. Allegations have piled up, former associates have turned their backs on him, and the media is finally digging into things they should have questioned years ago. And yet, despite the storm surrounding Diddy, Leonardo has yet to say anything. No statement, no distancing, no disavowal. That silence, once seen as professionalism, now looks a lot more like self-preservation. What's worse, Rogan explained, is how both men benefited from this unspoken alliance. Diddy got credibility by associating with A-list actors like Leonardo. Leonardo, in turn, got insider access to parties, events, and circles that most young stars could only dream of. They gave each other clout, but at what cost? What did Leonardo have to overlook in order to stay in the room? It's no secret that Diddy surrounded himself with rising stars. That was his brand. He built careers, launched artists, and claimed to offer opportunities others couldn't. But Rogan pointed out that Diddy's inner circle always seemed to include young male celebrities who were just breaking through. Justin Bieber, Aaron Carter, and yes, Leonardo DiCaprio. The list goes on, and the same pattern always repeats: fast fame, sudden access, and then years of silence. Rogan didn't accuse Leonardo of breaking any laws, but he did question his moral responsibility. At some point, a person with that much power and visibility has to speak up, and Leonardo never has. Even as Diddy's empire crumbles, even as others come forward, Leonardo remains distant and unbothered. Rogan believes that silence is no longer an option. When you're in the room, you're responsible for what happens in it, even if you pretend not to see.
I got my MTV
I'm
out.
savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Everybody hung with Diddy. That's the other tricky
Yeah,
thing. Like, Diddy
that
hung
is
out
the
with
thing.
everybody. And I've spoken to a bunch of people who are like, yo, great dude, like, always there for you, never asked for a single thing.
Till 1 a.m.
And then
Then
freak off.
everybody
the gates.
says, get out of the house. It's just amazing how many people in the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala. Too.
Yeah, seriously, it's like insane.
Publicly, openly, like
Yeah.
all in.
Yes.
It's-
It's like J-Lo like was like his ex-girlfriend. and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm
Is he
like,
the
well, wait a second.
Babylon
So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
Then there's also like people that are elites, and that's their thing. Like their thing is to do something that is horrible, and it's not available to other people. So it's like, I think there's like a sickness that people
Sounds like
have when they have power, like extreme power, and then well, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else is what else is taboo? What else is forbidden? The thing is, like, we're getting the rumors from the internet, and the internet thinks that the Taliban took out that bridge in Baltimore. So it's like, who fucking knows? Who knows what's real?
That's what Diddy's lawyers, I think, said. It was like, that these are just trumped up charges. Not trumped up, I don't think they said that, but like bullshit charges.
Dude, when Homeland Security invades your house,
You got problems.
with dudes with fucking guns and body armor.
The podcast also touched on the way the media protected both men. Diddy was always painted as a genius entrepreneur. Leonardo was praised as an artistic recluse. But behind those glowing headlines was a machine designed to cover up inconvenient truths. Rogan called out entertainment journalists who ignored red flags, publicists who spun every story into something harmless, and executives who looked the other way. It wasn't just a culture of silence, it was a culture of protection. Leonardo's reluctance to speak now feels like a betrayal to fans who trusted him. For years, he was seen as a symbol of environmental awareness, selective with his roles, and untouched by Hollywood's seedier side. But Rogan warned that no one stays clean in that environment without making compromises. If Leonardo knew what Diddy was doing, and there's every reason to believe he did, then his silence is a form of complicity. This isn't just about guilt, it's about responsibility. Rogan believes that the people who had the power to say something and didn't are just as much a part of the problem. Leonardo didn't just stay close to Diddy once or twice, their connection spanned decades, events, vacations, public appearances, and yet not one moment of acknowledgement or accountability. That, Rogan said, is what makes the situation so troubling. People are starting to take notice. Social media has been flooded with timelines showing Leonardo's rise to fame side by side with his appearances at Diddy's events. Fans are piecing together years of ignored connections and uncomfortable images. One viral post even noted that Leonardo's most private years, the time when he stepped away from interviews and public appearances, coincided with Diddy's most active years behind the scenes. Was that a coincidence? Or was Leonardo retreating to avoid getting dragged into something bigger?
What's going to happen, though, you think?
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get
Think he's
hit up.
insane, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters.
But then it's just another
There's
Epstein.
there's
It's another
murder
Ghislaine
case.
Maxwell,
But
where
there's
somebody
murder
gets indicted and
cases.
nobody else indicted for trafficking kids to
right to no one.
As the pressure mounts, Leonardo's refusal to address the situation is beginning to backfire. The narrative is shifting. Where fans once defended his privacy, they're now demanding transparency. And if Leonardo continues to stay quiet, he may lose the goodwill he spent decades building. Rogan warned that being a passive bystander is no longer acceptable, especially when lives, careers, and reputations are being destroyed. Diddy's fall is exposing a lot more than just his personal flaws. It's revealing how Hollywood operates, who gets protected, who gets sacrificed, and who stays silent to protect their brand. Leonardo has always been good at controlling his image, but as Rogan said, no publicist in the world can protect you when the truth finally comes out. The entertainment world is watching closely now. More stories are emerging every day. Former assistants, bodyguards, and even fellow celebrities are starting to speak up. And as more light is shed on Diddy's inner circle, the pressure on Leonardo to explain his long-standing connection only grows stronger. If he waits too long, it may be too late to control the story. Joe Rogan's podcast was a wake-up call, not just for Leonardo DiCaprio and Diddy, but for the entire Hollywood ecosystem that allowed this culture to thrive. The days of protecting powerful names while silencing the truth are coming to an end, and anyone who played a role, actively or passively, will have to answer for it. This isn't about tearing people down for fun, it's about accountability. Rogan believes that the only way the industry will change is if the people who benefited from the silence are forced to explain why they stayed quiet for so long. Leonardo may be a great actor. Diddy may have made huge contributions to music, but none of that matters if they allowed a harmful system to flourish unchecked. The public deserves honesty. The victims deserve justice. And the entertainment industry deserves a reset. Rogan's words were clear. The only thing more dangerous than those who abuse their power are the ones who stay silent while it happens. And until Leonardo breaks that silence, he'll remain part of the problem, not the solution. As the weeks go on and more disturbing details come to light about Diddy's past, pressure continues to build. Not only on those directly involved, but also on those who remained close to him while staying suspiciously quiet. The public is no longer content with generic denials or rehearsed statements. They want accountability, they want transparency, and now many are asking if Leonardo DiCaprio truly had nothing to hide, why hasn't he said anything? It's not as though Leonardo is unaware of the controversy. The headlines are everywhere. The lawsuits have become national news. Former associates are talking. And still, Leonardo remains tucked behind his carefully crafted wall of silence. According to Rogan, this kind of calculated distance is not neutrality. It's protection. It's the same tactic used by many of Hollywood's most powerful figures when they sense the ship is sinking. Disappear. Wait. Hope it all blows over. But the difference now is the public isn't letting it blow over. Social media users, researchers, and even journalists have started compiling deep dive timelines comparing Leonardo's appearances at Diddy's events with key milestones in both their careers. One independent investigator even pointed out that some of Leonardo's biggest career breaks happened immediately after extended periods of private interaction with Diddy and his circle. Whether it's a coincidence or not, the optics are damaging. And then there's the issue of influence. While Leonardo's team has always portrayed him as someone who earned his roles based on talent and selectivity, Rogan raised a new question. What if some of those opportunities weren't earned through traditional channels? What if his continued closeness to industry gatekeepers like Diddy played a much bigger role than fans ever realized? This isn't just about party appearances, it's about access to power and protection from consequences. Diddy had both, and Rogan believes Leonardo benefited from being connected to that power, whether consciously or not. If Leonardo used that association to move higher up the Hollywood ladder, then it's not enough to pretend he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. At some point, proximity becomes participation. Rogan warned that the longer Leonardo waits to address these concerns, the more damage he risks to his own legacy. Silence might have been a strategy in the past, but in the current climate, it looks more like guilt. As people continue to come forward, it becomes harder and harder to believe that Leonardo didn't know anything, and if he did know, why didn't he ever do the right thing? The window for silence is closing, and Joe Rogan isn't letting it slide.